All right, gang, in this video, I wanted to showcase my different calipers. I've got another one here. All right, so I have Quattro calipers. All right, why do I have so many calipers? Well, before I got into this stuff, I have a fifth one here somewhere, a plastic one that actually I broke mostly. Anyways, my first good caliper was this General Ultra Tech. I don't know if you can see it. It's digital, and I got it at Harbor Freight. I think I paid like 30 bucks for it at Harbor Freight, and it worked very well for me. However, the battery always dies on it, like, you know, way too fast, right? And the thing that holds the battery in, the cover here, somehow I lost the screw, or no, the screw stripped out on me. That's what it was, because I was taking the battery out in order to prolong battery life. And it really didn't seem to help much at all. And I stripped out that screw. So I just did electrical tape over it. And there you have it. And I memorized, it was easy to memorize what size battery it takes. It takes a 357. If you're in America or a chainsaw nut, then 357 is an easy number to remember, because you have the 357 Magnum gun and you have the Husqvarna 357 XP. So it was easy to remember the battery. I would just know that it was dead, and I could be out and go, oh yeah, 357 batteries. But the fact that it went dead, you know, we're talking 5-6 times a year. I don't know, maybe that's stretched, maybe 4 times a year. That's too much, especially barely using it, you know what I mean? And the other problem is that every time that I would open it up, not every time, but you know, and then I would close it, it wasn't coming back to a perfect 0, you know? So that led me to speculate, I think rightfully speculate, that it wasn't very accurate, because even if it's, you know, I mean, it's like 0.004, 0.005 of an inch off, that's too much whenever you needing precision. So I wanted to upgrade it. Now the good thing about this is you can do fractions in, you know, inches, you know, thousandths of it, or well, inches. You can do fractions, you can do thousandths of an inch, and you can do millimeters as well. All right, so all of it's right in there, and that's pretty handy, right? However, I wanted a dial caliper, because a dial caliper, the batteries never go dead. And these things were, I like to get the old Sears. This is a Craftsman. I don't know if you can see that, but I like to get the old Sears Craftsman stuff. And for my purposes, this is just as good as anything else. You know, you got your really high quality stuff. I believe Starrett is one of the really high end ones. There are others, but I don't know enough to get into that. I know that these old Craftsmen from pre-2000, you know, even, you know, pre-1990 probably, this stuff was really good, or at least more than good enough for me. I'm not measuring microns. These things are accurate to a thousandth of an inch, and that's all I need. Whenever I got this, I went ahead. Now this is the metric one. This is the millimeter metric setup. And I got this so that I can measure cylinders and pistons to see, you know, is it a 48 millimeter piston or is it a 50 millimeter piston? Just simple basic stuff like that. All of the in-depth stuff, I have this one, which this one actually measures thousandths of an inch, right? Now, if you notice, let me see how well you can see this. That dial right there, it goes all the way from 0 to 0 at the bottom. So that means for every full turn of the dial, you are getting 200 thousandths, right? For every full turn of the dial. See, right there's 100 thousandths, 200 thousandths. And this can be hard to read on my old man eyes, right? I was complaining about it in one of my videos, and so this, you would call this, I think, 1-to-2 ratio or a 2-to-1 ratio, right? And what you're measuring is the turn of the dial, right? Per every turn of the dial, you're getting 2 1,000ths of an inch. Well, Sean Carr, being the nice gentleman that he is, he sent me a massage and he was like, you need to get a 1-to-1. And I was like, what? I didn't even know they came in a 1-to-1. I thought this was all I had ever seen. I didn't know what he was talking about, but I figured it out. And he sent me a link to one that was pretty good. He's like, these are pretty good and they're affordable, about 40 bucks and stuff. Well, the name brand thing, I am victim to marketing, a victim of marketing, just like you all are. And I really wanted to stick with my Craftsman name brand stuff. So I found another old Craftsman, and this one, for every 1 turn of the dial, is 100 thousandths of an inch. And what that does for you, it doesn't really change how this thing works or anything. It just makes the numbers bigger. It makes it easier for my old man eyes to read. That's really all it does. So I can go right here, boom, 15 thousandths of an inch or so. Yeah, 15 thousandths of an inch. 50, 100. A lot easier for me to read. So for every 1 turn of the dial, you get 100 thousandths of an inch. And this would be a 1-to-1. So, recommendations. There's all kinds of different stuff you can buy. And I gotta say, honestly, for most stuff that most of us are gonna do, we're just hobbyists and everything. The made in China shit is probably gonna work just as good as this. However, I'm not going to recommend that. What I'm going to recommend is getting you a good one. And oftentimes you can save a lot of money by getting one of these older setups. Get an old one, because these are precision instruments. And so people treat them with care. They're not putting this on the lug nuts of a 3/4 ton pickup truck and grrr, right? They're measuring gentle little measurements and stuff, and so they tend to actually stay good for a very, 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 very long time. I like the Craftsman brand, but just do a search for quality dial calipers. What brand name dial calipers should I get? Stuff like that. Now I still keep this one around, this digital one. Why do I do that? Well, because it's easy to measure with. So if I'm measuring a cylinder right here, then all I got to do is turn it on, switch the mode to millimeters. Oh. Just open it right up, and I see 44.91, right? So that tells me it's a 45 millimeter bore. They're never perfect, ever. I don't know who is getting perfect readings on cylinders and pistons. They're always a few thousandths off. So that was really simple, right? Now I take my metric. This one's measured in, I can't even see. See, that's what I'm talking about with the old man eyes. .05. So for every full rotation, I guess it's a 100th of a millimeter? Yeah, that's what I would say. No, I don't know. I don't know. See, that's another problem. I just don't know. So. Well, whenever it says 1, you're on 0.1 millimeter. So you're on 1/10 of a millimeter at 1. So yeah, I guess it's measured in hundredths. But the problem with this is if I take my cylinder and I just go like that, and I do a reading, I see, oh, it is 5.5 millimeters. That's not right, right? No, that's not right at all. So for every full turn, it looks like it goes 0.6. So I have to count up, like that's one turn, 2 turn, 3 turn, 4 turn, 5 turn, 6 turn, 7 turn, 8 turn. So what my reading then is 8 and almost 9 full turns. Yeah, doesn't make sense. So I got to do the math. If it was 0.05, then 0.5 times 9 is 45, but it's slightly less than that. But there's the point. I just proved it to you why I've kept the digital caliper. The digital caliper is still good for measuring this and measuring pistons. It's simple, it's easy, it's quick. Whenever you're using the metric caliper to measure something very large, you have to count the turns and then do the math to figure out exactly what size it is. So that's a pain in the ass, right? Yeah, right. It's a total pain in the ass. Oh, I see now. I see how it is. So no, it's not 0.6. So look at this. I'll show you. Point 0.41, 0.42, 0.43, 0.44, 0.45, 6, 7, 8. Now that is 5 millimeters. So yeah, my gauge ended up right there. So almost 9 full turns, right? So we were looking at 45 minus a half a millimeter. So that puts us at 44.5 millimeter. Does that make sense? But yeah, that's why I don't like using this thing, and I would not recommend using a dial caliper to measure large expanses, you know, measuring in centimeters. It gets confusing, all right? And if you're not doing it every day, if you're just a hobbyist like me, you forget it, and then you have to refigure it out every time. So for measuring pistons and cylinders, I do recommend a digital, but the batteries go dead, at least this one does. They go dead 4 or 5 times a year. So you have to keep on hand batteries, right? Because you will run out and you'll be sitting here and you need to get that measurement and you go, and then you got to run to Ace Hardware to get some more. And they're expensive as shit and everything. So for the metric side of things, I recommend a digital, but you got to keep batteries on hand. On the thousandths of an inch side, I recommend a good dial caliper, a good name brand that you like, whatever that may be. I also recommend buying one used. You can get them so much cheaper buying them used, and they're always in good shape, you know. Sometimes they'll have, like this one has, this belonged to MD Shackelford. You know, you'll have their names on the back. This one was FG Anise. Let's call this guy Anus. So anyways, and getting it, the dial, make sure it goes from 0 to 100. There's no, you know, if you go like this one, that's a 2 to 1. You don't want that set up. You want the 1 to 1. But there you have it. I hope that made sense to some of y'all. And to the rest of y'all, I hope that you were mildly entertained. If you like this video, give a thumbs up and, you know, subscribe if you haven't already. Later.